They're lucky they're working. Keep busy. Sitting home is just driving us nuts. Doesn't mean to be.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Charlie, how you doing?
Well, it's going to get interesting.
You got your store open?
Yes. I'm on the other end of it, though. I'm Dakota Bodies laid off some people yesterday. Eric's lost a bunch of contracts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's, of course, we all know about Persona.
What's going on? I haven't heard about this specifically. I heard they
297
lost some business, but
882 6280.
Persona has got, what, they do 40? I think it's they laid off 40 people, and
yeah.
there's 70 more affected, and
All right, good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. This is our weekly meeting of the Cottington County Commissioners. It is Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. We will open our meeting with Pledge of Allegiance. And Charlie, did you lead us last time or not? I can't remember.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a few notes to mention. We are being streamed live, and I think I have just mentioned to Cindy that something that we could add to the agenda going forward is a couple numbers for individuals to call in, since the public isn't here and able to get in since we're closed to the public. So we'll add that to the agenda for call-in numbers.
So how about if I put it in the public comment line?
Yeah, that
so that people see it right away, and then they can call in even the week before the meeting starts, or the time period between when I post the agenda until the meeting. And
Yeah, I think that would be good. That way they can see it, and then they would call
instead
in.
of at the end of the agenda where they might
not see it.
Right, let's go with the
That's a
public
good-
comment section. Okay.
Good plan, and then
All right.
that way they can call in, and then we'll call them back during the open portion of our meeting to allow them that opportunity for public comment.
Madam Chair, do we want to say what the number is?
Yep, I'm just going to
okay,
say that
sorry.
right now.
Sorry.
So we have two phone numbers, and it is 882-6297 and 882-6288. And if anyone is listening while we're streaming this morning, they can utilize those two numbers as well and call in if there's anything on, or that is not on the agenda that they would like to bring to our attention. I guess if we have cell phones, if you please silence them, so if they go off during the meeting, to step out and take the call. We will move on to, and Commissioner Van Duzen is on the telephone, so he is attending the meeting that way, and in the future, there may be an opportunity that all of us will be doing our meetings from home to adhere to the CDC guidelines. Item number 3, conflict of interest items. Is there any conflict of interest on the agenda for anyone of the commissioners?
No.
No.
Right. Item number 4, action to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Got a
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Is there any additions? I will let you know that we will be going into exec for personnel. Just a heads up, it is on the agenda, but just going to mention that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 5, action to approve the minutes of the March 24th, 2020 meeting.
so moved.
Motion by Waterman.
Second.
Second by Van Duzen. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Don't
That
forget to call
motion
for
carries.
Troy's.
Oh, yeah, roll call vote, yeah. Sorry, we'll do that. Item number 6, action to contract with Clark Engineering for engineering services. I'm going to call Rick. In the meantime, should we just move to Ann?
We can use the other line and put it on speaker.
Okay, all righty.
So just...
We'll do 6 and 7, Brenda, with him.
Yeah, there's several of them here.
I'm calling from a remote location here, just to keep the social distancing as possible as possible.
Yes, and that is item number 10 on the agenda, so we'll talk more about that. Okay, Rick, we put you on, everybody should be able to hear you now. We have you on the mic. Yes. Can you hear me, Rick?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to do item number 6, action to contract with Clark Engineering for engineering services of the Willow Creek Bank improvements. Do you want to do a little explanation on that?
Okay, yeah, this was a budgeted item from last year. There was a washout. We had Clark Engineering start the process with getting a permit from the Corps. And this is just to get the project going so we can get it to bid. Clark Engineering will help do all that with boundary survey, plans, documents, assisting with the bid, everything, so.
Okay, and as you mentioned, it is a budgeted item, so I'm looking for action or motion.
I'll make a motion
Got a
to.
motion by Gable, second by Waterman. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none? Or did you have something?
I was just going to say,
Mr.
it looks like it's well worth the money, so.
Gable? Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
That motion passes. Item number 7, action to contract with Clark Engineering for riprap estimates.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Rick, did you want to do any explaining on that, or was that part of what you said before?
This is some stuff that we built up last year on County Road 10 and 23-6 south of Tinkertown. We may have to build up some more. They'll have to go out and figure the riprap, because some of that south of Tinkertown is over 10 feet deep. So it's something that we can't do on our own.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or question?
No, again, just so people know, these are basically, for lack of a better term, using their help in managing this work, and by paying somebody that knows what they're doing, a good consultant, an engineer, we'll save some money in the long run by doing the job well. So.
Yeah, these are trusted people, Clark Engineering. We've done business with them for, I don't know how long, but several years.
Many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah. They work on bridge inspections and all that. Okay. Commissioner Van Duzen, did you have any comments?
No comment, no?
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
Let's keep,
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries also. Item number 8, Rick, action to approve hiring of seasonal employee for the Highway Department.
this is just so I have permission. This probably won't hire anybody until May to mow the grass, help clean the shop. It's around 20 hours a week.
So moved. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Gable, second by Johnson.
Well,
Any further discussion?
this is normal procedure, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you, Rick. I think that's all we have for you today, so thanks for allowing to call in on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. All right, item number 9, action on a request to scan records in the Register of Deeds office, and we'll let Ann do a little explanation on,
Marianne,
Good morning.
good morning, Ann.
hit your button.
It
It's
is.
pushed, yeah. I had a request from Cottington County Title to come in during this time to do some more scanning of some records, and I've informed them that we are closed to the public, but I need your approval to continue with that recommendation.
Either to approve or deny. So you want to explain, like, these records these books need to be totally,
Well, in that, I came up with some more information last night because we were thinking that they could do actually our books. Well, that's part of our indexing, which they can't have access to our land record indexing because that's our indexing. And it's brought to my attention last night that that's what our books are. So they have to go back to do the scanning of the actual documents that we have written in our indexing, which is going to amount to more time.
So,
Is this the same company that was here before?
Yep.
and this process was started how long ago?
I believe last March.
And so they should have been able to, they could have been able to be doing this during that time period?
Well, yeah, and I don't know how they've been doing theirs. I think it's just something that came up that they didn't realize that they had, maybe. I'm not.
I'll make a motion to approve.
What are we approving?
Oh, I thought you...
To not?
Well, we always make the motion in the
Action.
affirmative. Becky, I guess.
But Ann's recommendation
Okay, oh, your
is
recommendation,
to keep the status quo with
Okay.
our
Otherwise,
closure to the
they'd
public.
have to bring a
I'm sorry, I
scanner in.
misunderstood that. Okay, all right.
So,
I mean,
Withdrawn.
I'm just, you know, when we're going with close to the public, I didn't know
Well,
how much access
the
we
way-
want.
The way the guidance reads, I mean, the personnel, that's why I was trying to, maybe that's why I got confused, because the way the provisional policy that we approved last week says is if somebody wants to come in, we kind of give the department heads discretion, but if they're showing any symptoms, you say, don't come in and please go see somebody, see a medical person, and then that's basically it. So I think applying those, criteria, then, if it's a lot of people, if it looks like there's going to be a lot of close interaction, then yeah, you wouldn't want it. If you can't apply the CDC guidelines, basically that's the issue. So,
this isn't a one-day thing. This is like going to
so this
take
would be
a
somebody coming
very
in
long
every,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, it
And they'd
would
have to
be
bring a
full days,
scanner
and they'd be
in.
having access, to all of the.
Okay, if that's a concern, then okay.
And in your opinion, and I think I heard something about why couldn't have this been done beforehand, and that's my question too. What is the urgency about getting this done now?
I think they're just wanting to move forward with, their examination of their plant so that they can start business.
I mean, we have our courthouse closed to limited access. We even tried to do this meeting from a remote and it didn't work out. And so now we don't.
Why can't we deny the request at this time and then just indicate that we will revisit once we open up for business
You
again?
can do that.
Yeah, Ben, the state's
would
attorney is
second
here.
that
I was
motion.
going
And that would be
to.
a motion that I would make. Did he have one?
No, I just was reading what the agenda item says. It's an action on a request, so do you
Yeah.
need us to take action?
So don't we just make a motion on this, and then when you vote, either for or against? I mean,
Well,
can
you
we
can
make all
make, you can make a
motions?
motion to deny the request
Yep.
until the building is open to the public.
Okay.
That'll
Okay,
work.
so, but, okay,
So it doesn't need to be in the affirmative in this case.
Well,
Okay.
Lee made a motion and he hasn't got a second.
yeah, okay, it wasn't a clear motion, it was my, so I withdrew the motion. But I guess the question is, I think the guidance that we applied, if we're able to apply the CDC guidance and still allow them to do it, then that's kind of the question. I mean, but if you're not comfortable with that, then you're saying it's going to be a lot of back and forth and interaction between your staff and this person. Okay, well, then
We're open for discussion. My thought is you crack it and the door open a little bit here for this, then a little bit for that, then a little bit for that, and you got to be firm. You're uncomfortable with it. Your employees are uncomfortable with it.
It's unfortunate that this happened at this time frame.
Right.
It's
Out of
it's not
everybody's control.
anybody's, it's out of all of our control basically at this point of what's going on. So,
I guess I make a motion to deny the request, if that will help you.
I guess I just feel the same as what Myron said.
But
I mean, at
Myron
this
may-
time, revisit it
Yeah.
once we're closer to being able to
Yep.
have more access.
You want to read what you got written there, Cindy?
I'm not sure who
I don't
made the
know who made the
motion.
motion.
I was going to say, I made a motion to deny the request.
but Myron went ahead and made a motion
Oh, he did, I'm
then
sorry.
before
I
you had a
apologize.
chance to even
I'll
vote
second
yours,
it. I'll
so.
second Myron's motion, okay.
So motion by Johnson, second by Gable to deny the
I think it was
request.
second.
Did you second it?
Yeah, I did, I'm willing to, unless somebody beat me
okay.
to it. I'm
All right,
fairly
okay.
All right,
but,
motion by Gable, or Johnson, second by Gable to deny the request to scan records in the Register of Deeds office during the closure of the courthouse to the public.
You okay with
Once
that?
we reopen, then
Yep.
they'll be able to do that, to do that business, so, all right. Any other discussion? Commissioner Van Duzen, you have any comment?
No, other than I would concur with the group there. I just don't think now's the right time since our building is closed. I like the idea of revisiting that at a later date.
Yes.
But I would be opposed to that as well.
All right. Hearing that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen, opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you,
All
Ann.
right, so thanks, Ann, for bringing that to our
Thank you for
attention.
coming into work. Appreciate it.
Item number 10, this is a discussion, possible action regarding commission virtual meetings. So this is kind of Troy and Lee's time to discuss what you've been working on and going forward.
Yeah, so, Commissioner Van Duzen and I were working on, can we do something like a Zoom or a GoToMeeting, use one of those, the conferencing apps to do this. And we got it all set up, working over the weekend and a little bit yesterday. So I think we have the hardware, but apparently we don't have the bandwidth, because when we tested it out with a few of you, particularly during a work day, the bandwidth didn't seem to be adequate for the courthouse. So we couldn't really get a good connection to have an effective meeting. So that's kind of the challenge. So the one thing we can do, and this is what Commissioner Van Duzen was referring to, was have one of us call in, and so that's what he's doing to help a little bit with the social distancing. One other thing we might look into, I'm not sure how well it will work, Commissioner Van Duzen and I were talking last night, just to have set up a call-in line. It wouldn't be the video conferencing, but it depends on how this particular phone is set up, so we'll be looking at that next. And if it takes bandwidth within the courthouse, then it's going to be more difficult to do that. But the other thing we might want to consider, I don't know how much, if there's something that we could do for not too much cost to be putting some connecting things to fiber optic as opposed to Wi-Fi. That might help a little bit, but so we're still working on it basically and trying to do that as quickly as we can.
A work in progress.
You want to add anything, Commissioner Van Duzen?
No, other than the fact that we don't know how long this is going to last, so we don't know what type of investment to make in this. But from what we're seeing, as far as reviewing the pricing plans and that sort of thing, it's not out of line. And I think it would be in our best interest to implement something as quickly as possible. I don't see this being a short-term deal. So I think we're on the right track, and hopefully next week we'll have something better in line to address this issue.
Yeah, so if I can add, on the pricing, yeah, so he's right on the plans for the service of like video conferencing or whatever, those aren't super expensive, but the getting it set up, if we need to hire some expertise to get it set up, that could cost some money. That's kind of the issue. So.
Something I might throw out there is the city has been using Microsoft Teams, and I think that's a free app, so if there's something that we might be able to do in that.
That's a good example. So that's one example of they have like a 6-month free deal, but to get it set up over the weekend, it would have been about, to have somebody set it up for us, just the software part of it would have been about $500. And then we might not have, then on top of that, we might not have the bandwidth to support all that video stuff. That's a good example of a good conferencing solution. But
Right.
so we'll see. We'll just have to see what we need to do. It may just be, calling in and keeping our distance in the end, but we'll see.
All right.
And we're talking about this, and then you include security, and it's not, I don't know, it's not really here, but it's tied in here. As I was listening to What's Up this morning, they had a lady on from the Better Business Bureau, and 22%, there's been a 22% increase in attempted scams and stuff like that, and a lot of them are from people that work at home that don't have the proper protection on their home computers that we have here in the courthouse. That was my concern last week. I equate it a little bit, Lee, to like when you go into security, you got low level and then you got higher level.
I think, yeah, that's, so a lot of the businesses, that would be like, say, access to a database or something, then you want to make sure that if somebody's working from home, they have the right security. So I know I have a part-time job where they make sure of that. So
there are some awful smart people out there, and some of them just do it for fun. Some of them do it for other nefarious reasons. But it's something that we should be aware of all the time. And if that, we just have one case right now. I believe she's working at home, isn't she? To the equalization office?
We have two.
Two
now?
We do have two, yep.
And so,
the Treasurer's office has been set up with the ability to work an employee from.
Because if we have what I feel good security here, but those other ones, there might be a wormhole to get into something else.
So yeah, so people understand what we're talking about. Like, for example, the individual. And it's the same for my part-time job as well. The place of employment sets, hires a computer person to get it all fixed up, basically, and you can remote into your desktop computer through a secure means to be able to use you can have access to the information you need from here, but it's through your desktop computer here from home. But that's all got to be what you're talking about. That process has to all be secured.
Yes.
So, but we haven't been able to do that very, very much for our employees, unfortunately. So, but where we can, where it makes sense.
I'm not saying that there's an imminent threat. I'm just saying it's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we will move on to item number 11, discussion, possible action on COVID-19 practices and procedures. And we have several of those today. The first one being the resolution that we passed last week. We're going to make some changes to that. And Lee, would you like to take the lead on the explanation, please?
Yeah, so you have this all in front of you. It's basically the same resolution that we did last week with some key changes to the wording to make sure that we're doing things. I guess how would you want to describe it as?
Just more in conformity.
So in a more conforming way, a bit clearer, and so I don't know if you want to comment on any of that, Becky?
Just had a chance to look at it. I think this brings things a little more in terms of what the legislature's done recently. So I think this is the correct route for the county to go at this point.
So it's still so basically replacing the resolution we did last week with some key reworded spots that, again, strongly urge businesses to comply with all the CDC guidance. Then it outlines that it still has the thing about the county facilities being closed, and the thing that we were kind of talking about a little bit with the Register of Deeds about, if you have to do a face-to-face meeting, then, be careful with it, basically. And then talking to the businesses out in the county about avoiding on-site consumption. And so it's pretty much the same thing, but we changed some key wording to make sure that we're doing things, dotting our I's and crossing our T's, so.
All right.
Do we need a motion?
Do we need a
on this?
motion
Yeah,
to approve?
I'd make a motion that we do this, and this, just so people know, this replaces what we did last week.
I'll second the
Do we
motion.
need to ratify or repeal the other one before we?
It's, the
in
wording
there?
is in,
It's in-
it's on the
This is
second.
an update to that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Will be sufficient.
And there is a specific line, effective immediately, resolution number 2020-7 is hereby repealed. That's within this resolution.
Okay, so this is all,
Covers it.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if I could, just so that everything in here is effective immediately, but it's also, the language is a little different, so that, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So it uses the term strongly urged in a lot of places, but it's effective immediately. And so this is coming from the county. The idea is to, apply the president's and the CDC guidance and all the things that are going on, but basically the idea of, same idea that we talked about last week, of, avoiding large gatherings, and where that would take place in a business is going to be a restaurant or a bar for the most part. So it does not prohibit takeout, does not prohibit things like, say, room service, things where you can consume your food or whatever it is you're purchasing off-site.
All right, so was that a motion?
Yeah, that was a motion, I think.
All right, motion by Gable, second by Johnson. Any other further discussion? Commissioner Van Duzen, any questions or comments from you?
Nope, I like it.
Okay. With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. Okay, so we have a few other items. Last week, we did do a personnel policy and procedure manual on the COVID-19 directive. I think we need to add in there under the
Yeah.
county employees.
Yeah, I prepared some,
Okay, so
I don't have that. That was one I
do
did
you
not.
want this, the one that we had
Yeah,
last
that'd be
week?
good.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was, well, we were basically talking about, let me see if I'll try to pull this up here so you can all see it. But currently what it says, counties, this talks about the working from home policy. So this is the provisional policy we did last week. So it's a personnel policy and procedures manual. Well, this is just, you just pulled this right out of, this is just the page from the minutes. So provisional personnel policy to be effective during the coronavirus crisis. And we don't have our paragraphs numbered, I see, but the second paragraph that starts with county employees may work from home if, and then it says the employee can complete a full-time schedule and the department head approves. We forgot to talk about department heads themselves.
Not the elected.
Yeah, so then we thought, well, we should probably just not worry about the elected ones, but the appointed ones. So the question is, what do we do about the appointed department heads? So my proposal would be that we have them get our approval, so as a commission. So
Commission as a full
So that would-
board, not
that-
just a liaison.
so that would add a third kind of point to that paragraph. So in addition to, so it would say county employees may work from home if the employee can complete a full-time schedule and the department head approves, and then add a bullet that says for appointed department heads, the county commissioners approve.
Need county commission approval
Yeah.
as a full board.
I think the wording can be just say for appointed department heads, the county commission, comma, the county commission approves, or the commissioners approve, or the board of commissioners.
Needs county
Requires.
commission, yeah, requires
We're just stating in the
full
form-
county commission board
Yeah,
approval.
we're stating in the form of 3 conditions, so for the condition for them would be that we approve.
Yep,
So,
as a full board, not individually.
so that would be,
Kind of, yeah,
I can't write here.
just so we have that figured out.
So I'll make that motion.
I need some specific.
Okay, so the language would be, so to insert, you ready to copy it? So,
I'm gonna, it's on my recorder,
okay, so for appointed department heads, the commission, or would the proper term be the Board of County Commissioners approves?
It will be required for the full,
that's where you need to come
Yeah.
together on how you want this
yeah,
worded.
it would need to be required. It
It
would
is, that's what I'm saying.
require a full
That's-
board.
Okay, here's how the whole, let me read the whole paragraph again. So we're talking about, we're just getting into how we word it now. So the county employees may work from home if, and then instead of 2 conditions, we're adding a third one. So it'd be 3 conditions. First condition, the employee can complete a full-time schedule. Second condition, the department head approves. And then the third condition we're proposing to add as an amendment would be for appointed department heads, comma, the commissioners approve, or the Board of County Commissioners approves. So I would say the Board of, see how that's it's just a
The
word.
board approves,
Yeah,
yeah,
so the-
you're covered.
Yeah, so the Board of County
The
Commissioners.
board approves, yes.
Yeah, so that's my,
That's.
Is
it
that
has to be
clear?
consent- It has to be an
Yeah,
action of
consensus.
the board.
yeah.
Well, that part is very clear, but I want to come back to the security issue again.
Well, that's where we would have that opportunity to decide whether we think it should be
Yeah,
allowed
and
or not.
Can I answer Commissioner Waterman's question? So the security one is in the first condition that we already approved last week, where the employee can work from home.
No.
So if it's not secure, then they can't work from home. Yeah, in our judgment,
As an example, I picked up a laptop yesterday, and
Yeah.
you stopped by. You knew nothing about the laptop, you knew not what's hooked up to or anything like that, or what was on it. We just added to it.
yeah. So,
What's to say that that couldn't have been infected?
well, if we're worried about that, then we shouldn't approve that, then they wouldn't meet the first
But
condition.
is there something that we could add to their device at home? That would
That,
extend the
well,
security of the courthouse to that laptop.
Yeah, that's kind of what the treasurer's office did in setting that up. So that's, if you can't, then they don't meet that first condition. So that's, but that's, those are, in each situation, yeah, we'd have to look at that, so.
That is a concern of mine.
Yeah, no, I think we're all concerned, that's why, we're saying for the department heads have to approve for non-department head employees, and for appointed department heads, we want to approve. I mean, that's what that, or at least that's what I'm proposing as an amendment to this directive, so.
Okay?
So is that clear what my motion
Clear?
is?
No.
Okay, there's any,
I'm fine with that now.
okay.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Commissioner Van Duzen, can you understand what's going on, or are you okay with can you understand what
Yeah,
Lee's trying to do?
I'm good with that. I'm good.
Okay.
So that
we
is my
need-
motion.
Okay, that's Lee's motion. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Van Duzen. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries also. So we'll add that line into our directive, or policy, I guess, personnel policy. Here's one more issue. Today is the deadline for our Veteran Service Office applications. And I guess we have had some, but because of the hiccups when the Department of Labor closed with not being able to go in and pick the applications up, I've talked to Terry, and I guess I would be in favor of extending it the same as we did for our maintenance position till April 15th. But I just wanted to know if the consensus of the board would also, that would give individuals a little bit more of a time frame now that we have things set up a little bit better to do this, so.
I would make that a motion.
Do we need a motion? But I think we
I think
just.
we can just do it by
but-
consensus,
because
and
we
then we'll
already-
just let Terry know.
Equal
that-
opportunity, let's do.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
seems only fair, so.
So,
And I don't know if this plays into the fact, but when was the last day that Al will be on?
17th.
Yeah, and I have talked to Al about that. That's personnel, so we'll do that in executive session, so.
We have a
Also,
motion by Waterman on this veteran
Yep.
service one. Should we?
you want to do
finish
it
that
as
up?
a, okay.
No, yeah, I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay, part of that too, before, yeah. So also part of that, the way it was, the verbiage in it, and I don't have that with me, I asked Terry to send it, but he hasn't done that yet, do we want this individual to be a resident of Cottington County? Kind of a-
Preference, I would say,
See,
preference.
that's already covered in our personnel policy.
That's what I thought, but the way the last ad read, it wasn't real clear, it was,
Well, I mean,
I
our
don't know what
policy says the board prefers that you are a resident of Cottington County, but if in the interest of filling the position, you have the best candidate that does not live in the county, you have the right to hire that. So I think
so
you're
we're
covered.
okay to leave
I
it
think
that
you're
way?
covered, yeah.
Okay,
That's the way the ad read, isn't it?
yeah, it was preferred, but it
yeah,
wasn't.
It's preferred, and
yeah.
that's the way our policy
Okay.
reads, but you have the
Ability
ability to override that.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that, of how we should state that if that was the case.
So
So
I
then
think
we're
we're covered.
okay on that. Okay, so that motion by Waterman, second by Gable. Any other discussion?
And what was the
Madam
motion?
Chair?
To,
To
yes,
extend the application deadline
till
till
April 15th. Yes, Commissioner Van Duzen?
April 15th is a Wednesday. Have we thought about maybe extending that till the 17th and make that a Friday?
Well,
5 o'clock or?
I guess we were just keeping it consistent with the maintenance, and like today would have been the deadline for the the 31st was on a Tuesday, so I guess just was trying to keep it consistent, but I mean, I don't have any, I mean, whatever we want to do.
I can amend my motion to make it the 17th.
17th.
Oh, I agree.
And also, we're going to have that Orentel filled, so that way if we get some before that time period and able to get it up and going, same as we did with the maintenance. So it's going to be till April 17th, Orentel filled. You want to, if that's okay to add
Did
to
we
your
take
motion?
action on the maintenance one?
That was last time, yeah, I believe. We did last week.
I think, do we, I
Did you
mean,
discuss it in executive session and not,
well, I think some of these things we don't necessarily have to take action, because we already just approved the listing of the job, and then we determined what
When we came out,
what the
maybe we
best.
didn't.
no, you did not. I
didn't
don't
come up with it.
remember.
Does that have to be, do we have to take action on the actual date that an
It was because of the
application is
COVID,
due?
so if we have to, can we do it now and just say we're going to extend that deadline?
Yeah, I mean, because in the interest of equal opportunity
Okay.
employment, you probably should.
All right.
This is the one for the maintenance personnel?
Right now, we're on the veterans, but yeah, we'll have to come back to the
Would you like
maintenance.
to amend your motion to include veteran service and maintenance? So we can have one
I will
motion?
amend my motion.
So then we're going to have to leave it for the 15th because the maintenance would be advertised as the 15th, so.
Oh, well, I'll second that amended motion.
All right.
That's.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I don't think Friday makes a difference on
Yeah.
that, as long as you have a deadline.
Right. Or until filled, so it's
Right.
hard to say.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
We better vote on the amended. Since they did amend the motion, we better vote on the amended motion.
Yeah.
Well,
the
well,
Yeah,
okay. so-
Motion and second on the amendment
I thought we
to
all-
add maintenance comes from Waterman and Gable.
yeah.
Is that all right?
Okay.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? That motion carries. Now we'll go back to the original and,
That's to extend the
to extend the time
to
period.
April 15th.
all right, so we're on the original. All in favor, say aye.
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 Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? That motion carries.
I think we made it through the,
All righty, so now we need, okay, so we got the maintenance, we got the,
Wrote a book.
I think then that's all that I had that I can think of right now that would apply to the COVID. So we'll move on to item number 12, action to approve claims for payment.
We have salary claims and an additional claim. The first claim is to the South Dakota Secretary of State's office in the amount of $30 for a notary application renewal for my office. Let's do that one separately.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, the rest of your claims.
Salary claims for the month of March were $568,636.26.
Motion approved.
Motion by Gable,
Second.
second by Waterman. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries also. Item number 13, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
Nothing for today for that.
Item number 14, action to approve personnel changes.
I have 4 of those. The first one is a personnel change for Scott and Gail Wall to be hired as Memorial Park campground managers at a rate of $17,500. I did not get this one sent to you because it got to me a little bit late, but I believe that was the agreement in prior discussion.
Do we need to have in there about
Good, I'm glad we had somebody to get.
1099?
No.
Okay.
No. The second one, these other 3 are all seasonal employees at Memorial Park. Sarah Bainan, step 4, $16.96 an hour. Eugene Bainan, step 4, $16.96 per hour. Steve DeVille, step 7, $18.64 per hour. These are all seasonal rehires.
All right, you heard that. Anyone want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. No.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I guess item number 15, probably shouldn't have any travel requests.
Nope.
All right, item number 16, no public notices. We shouldn't all be in one place at one time. Number 17, any old business? Seeing none. Item number 18, new business. Any new business? Item number 19, the open, public comments or commission comments?
I will check.
Okay.
Just maybe while we're waiting to check to see if there's anybody that dialed in, Madam Chair, just we're continuing to work on the sprinkler system. That work is moving slower, but since the courthouse has a lot fewer people in it, and as long as the contractors aren't showing any symptoms, it kind of makes sense. So that'll move along slowly during this period. Just an FYI. So
Contractors are the sprinkler.
yeah, it'll still continue to happen.
Okay.
So
I wondered about that.
We're gonna paint that pipe?
yeah, so yeah, basically the rule is on they did a pretty neat job on that, but yeah, the rule is that if it's exposed, it has to be metal so that it can be painted. So that's
So
if
that's
it's
the wall color or the filigree work color?
I would say the filigree.
well, it depends. I think we're going to have to talk. We'll have a. I don't know if that's it needs to be board action to approve the color of the paint, but anyway. So
Paint it green because it's a water pipe. That's Navy standard.
yeah, that's
All right, so do we have any other public comments or open commission
Nothing,
comments?
nobody has called in.
All right, so we can move on to item number 20, action to go into executive session per number 1, discussion on personnel.
So moved.
Got a motion by Waterman, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Gable. All in favor say aye.
Will there be any motion, anything after the meeting?
I don't believe so. No, not what, no, there should not be. All right. So we were in executive session. Becky, you